3/7/2026, 9:26 p.m. Central Standard Time, Dixon, Illinois. The Lizard Lounge Sound Studio presents Alien Cultural Exchange, War Machine. Captain Christopher, please proceed.
Thank you, Command. And, the thing is, when you're watching a movie, sometimes you come across something that you just cannot avoid talking about. And this happened today, well, actually tonight, when I was watching War Machine, which is a movie from Netflix directed by Patrick Hughes, written by Patrick Hughes and James Beaufort, starring Alan Ritchson, Stephen Janes, and Blake Richardson, among others. And this story follows the final recruits of a grueling special ops boot camp, their Rangers boot camp, who encounter a deadly force from beyond this world, an alien robot. So here's the thing. In this movie, what we end up happening is the worst case scenario that we could ever end up happening. It is just the worst thing. Just, if you can imagine it, we are caught off guard. An alien force invades without pretext, without warning, without any clear intent, and we're forced to react. And we do. In this movie, of course, humanity reacts, and the initial invasion is not a real success, but it's just a preamble, and there's more to come. And by the end of it, we still don't know who or why they have attacked. And that's just it. This is the worst case scenario. But it's not the worst case because there is a technologically superior, extrastellar civilization. That's not the worst case. It's that they just attack. And it's that they have any intention of attacking. Now, let's skip ahead because this is the point that I want to make. We managed to repel their invasion force. Done. We won this part, and we're able to move forward. We're going to be able to put up a fight. And all of humanity is going to turn their guns and point at the same thing to do this, but the worst part of this is the fact that the guns are hot. The bullets are already flying. The war has already started, and that is why we turned our guns on them and away from each other. That's it. Only because we suffered a wound did we decide to stop threatening to wound ourselves. I'd like to paint a different picture. One where it's the best case scenario. And I'm going to lay out all the reasons why it's the best case scenario. First of all, superior alien technology becomes known. It's a fact. And it's here. It cannot be avoided. It is here. The superior alien technology is in orbit, and we can't do anything about that fact. It's here. We have to deal with it now. But they're not attacking. So, what do? Well, let's get wishy-washy, and we'll go ahead and say what I think other people would say is the best case scenario, that we're the technologically superior ones, and we're the ones in orbit. But that I don't agree with. I don't think that is the best case scenario for anyone. What humanity does in this situation is indeed point all their guns into space. All at once. But that's it. Think about it. The entire world has been at war many times. And the scope has just gotten larger every time that we have been at war. So, what do we do when that happens? We form allies and we make formation. We all get together on a line, ready to fight and face against someone who is doing the same. Throughout history, there have been, albeit rare, cases where there was no actual fight. It was an assembly, and one side backs down. It's rare, but it's happened. Now, the thing about this scenario and why it's the best case is because the aliens aren't actually pointing guns at us. They have them, but they don't need to. They have us. We're trapped on the planet. If they're up there, looking down at us right now, they don't need to start exterminating us. We're stuck here. With what we have right now, we're stuck anyway. That's it. They could permanently cripple us if they wanted to, without even firing on the planet. We are at their mercy. So why do they even bother pointing a gun at us? They won't. They don't. They aren't. But what it takes is for all of us to wake up and realize they're there and say that our petty little differences and the things that have been holding us back and preventing us from uniting, they can be set aside right now for this, and they must be, and we do. At that point, it becomes global knowledge that this is happening. Everywhere on the globe is reacting to this. So, regardless of what we were to each other yesterday, on this day, while the aliens are up there, we are abreast with each other, and we have done that. The militaries have all done that. Now, it takes a lot to get a military to do anything. Mobilization is a big, big process, but the framework by which that happens isn't easy. And even when it requires very, very little to organize with an ally, the very fact that you are forming a defensive line or an offensive line, whatever, a line, forms a militaristic bond just by the nature of standing on the same line. Now, I'm not going to pretend that it wouldn't take much if somebody wanted to change that, but it's an initialization. It's something that has happened and has never happened before, no less. For once, even if we're not done arguing, even if we are still going to put our guns against each other and shoot each other in the future, right now, due to this situation, we've put that aside, and all our guns are trained for a singular, united purpose. Global unification doesn't need to happen. Global connectivity needs to happen. There is a point where things are so interconnected that they must be initialized before you can reach the next process, the next step. And a singular militarized action by everyone on the globe is enough to move us to the next phase of our evolution. And quite frankly, even if it was just a drill, as in all the leaders really did get together and say, look, we have a scenario. We have a scenario, and it's bigger than all of us. And it doesn't even have to be aliens. It's the asteroid scenario. The asteroid scenario. Hey, we got to do something about it. So, at this date, on this time, we are going to do an alarm on the planet. And we will organize our militaries to respond to this event. Think about it. Now, there's complications to this actually happening, obviously. And the biggest complication is that would require people from pointing their guns at each other. It would require them to stop pointing guns at each other and do something else with them. Or would it? No, it wouldn't. It would not require anyone backing down. In fact, it really wouldn't require anyone to stay the fire. To tell you the truth, no, it wouldn't. If a military was able to continue operations as they are, yet still respond to this drill, why not? You see, it's an emergency. And it may be an emergency for the entire globe, but that doesn't mean everything does stop. However, that one step of us all taking one action together is enough. It's enough to say that we recognize that this is Earth, that we are Terrans, and that we will fight together if anybody decides to push us that way. And we'll do it without stopping our own internal fights. Pro-humanity, and I'm pro-American. I am. This is the best country in the world. I love this country. So, I want us to unite. I really do. And I want it to get to the point where we don't need to shoot each other. I don't know exactly what will give us that answer. But it's one that we have to achieve. Because after unification, nothing changes. The borders are still what they are. They're not redrawn. The governance of the land is still the way it was. But somehow, we're maintaining it without death. Is that such a lofty idea? No. Our economies are military focused. Not just America. Most of the globe is focused on their military. And it's true. And we make a lot of scientific advances through our military research. So, why turn the industry off? Why not point it into the stars? In that direction. Let's go. Let's put some guns on our ships. Why not? Yeah, we might decide to use them up there, but we might not. But we have to worry about more than us using guns up there. And like I said, if anybody pushes this planet, humanity will push back. Now, our best case scenario is that the aliens just don't want to fight. Because they don't need to. But we need to drill. We need to run a drill. Our militaries don't know what to do. They don't actually have practice. Get it? It's a huge part of adjusting to the extraterrestrials up there. How do they do it? Sure, somebody in there has drawn up the plans, but what's the drill? What's the drill? What do we do? Where do we stand? Where do we put people? We've never run this drill before. See what I mean? So, why aren't we doing that now? Because there is ample evidence of extraterrestrial life. There are too many sightings of craft. There are too many abduction stories. Too many oddities. Too many things unexplained. Excuse me. And if you're me, well, too many aliens that you're actively talking to for it to be denied. I have legitimately seen a drone, guys. I mean it. I did. It was the most incredible thing I have ever seen next to seeing an actual angel, but I digress. The point is, we have the best case scenario, and we need to embrace it. We need to make a military action to mobilize, to show that we will stand together. That's just one more process that we need to do. But yet again, the aliens aren't going to shoot back at us. They're not. They don't need to. They're not here to do that because they've already made it up there. And they've already made it here. And for the first time, they know that they're not alone. And they've proven it. And they know it. And they're just trying to prove it to us. There's not a lot they can actually do while we're trying to make this step. Translation is not that easy. And the idea of just appearing and being proven for everyone to see all at once will lead to chaos, panic, and a multitude, a global network of militaries that have never run this drill. The population centers are losing their minds. There's looting. There's rioting. People are rapidly forming factions pro-alien, anti-alien. There's going to be people that would straight up want to throw everything into anarchy and would want to just start shooting everything and destroy everything. And maybe get the aliens too. That's why. They're smart enough to know that. That is a basic thing. Now, they had the advantage that their home worlds are a long way away from this. So when the confirmation that we're here and anyone else who made it was made, it was broadcast back. So from afar, they got to realize all this. And they got to do it without the threat of extraterrestrials right there. But we're still in a better situation because we're not quite up there yet. As soon as we manage to get the world looking in the same direction for a moment, we're going to be able to learn from these foreign civilizations. Where were their pitfalls? Where are the technological research topics that we should focus on that are really going to help us get ahead? They will have insight. And there, believe it or not, is so much that we don't understand yet. As an entire globe, there are things we don't understand. There are things we don't even know that we are missing. There are entire different branches of science that go along with becoming extrastellar or even extraterrestrial. One of the big things that caused stagnation in the Roman Empire was that they didn't have an adaptable economy. They were largely focused on and reliant upon slave labor. And they didn't have any potential for a middle class to develop. And they didn't have certain maths that led to economic theories. They didn't have the mathematics to figure out economics. They just didn't know that that math existed. And we're talking about an economy that is going to reach beyond the planet. What kind of measurements are we going to need to develop and understand to run economy between here, the moon, and Mars? I believe that this involves some combination of maths that we do not understand yet and likely have not discovered yet. And it is just the bare bones framework that we need to develop. Flat out, economy. Economy drives everything on this planet. And it's what's going to drive us on to other worlds. And the people who have already figured this out, at least in their way, we can look at their math. This is not a test that we need to take blind. We're not going to get, a fail or, a red flag from a teacher because we, looked at somebody else's essay or copied their homework. No. This is a group project. the expansion into the stars, the settling of solar systems and galaxies, universes. This is a group project. And it's going to be a messy one, but it's going to take everyone to make it happen. This is not an easy thing for us to do. But we have done some amazing things. And we've done it without any help either. I am not a subscriber to the ancient astronaut theory. I don't believe that our gods were extraterrestrials. I do not believe that. I don't believe that the deities predating Christianity were ever real. I don't believe that a higher power bestowed upon us the knowledge it would take to stack blocks and make triangles in the desert. And I sure as hell don't believe that any extra stellar civilization came down and used advanced technology to stack those blocks for us. If they could make the trip from another star, then I would hope that they decided to build something a bit more complex than the most rudimentary design possible, which is stacking blocks into a pyramid. That is literally so rudimentary that it didn't require the branches of science and math and economics that it takes to build a skyscraper. Human civilization, rocks. And we've banged those rocks together ourselves. And we've gotten this far on our own. You know how I know? Because somebody else out there had to, and they did. And I hope to God that when our time comes and we come across somebody who hasn't made contact yet and they are way behind, still learning how to make triangles out of light stone. Limestone is not a very solid stone either. It's a horrible building material. But if we come across somebody like that, I sure as hell hope we do come down and teach them that we're not gods and that there is a world beyond whatever globe they are on right now. It's possible for us to spearhead a civilization, but the key is it can't be done through subterfuge. It can't be done around the corners. It can't be done through infiltration. The only way that you can uplift a society is to show them what they're missing. And do it as clearly and as soon as possible. So yeah, if aliens had been responsible for kickstarting our civilization, they wouldn't have left. They would have made themselves very clear, and they would have left absolute certainty of who they were and where they came from. Because if the people they were helping did lose their way, they would want us to find them again. But we're in that good situation. We're in the best case scenario. Humanity is gonna get that one leg up, that little help from somebody with experience, and we are going to spread out. Because once we figure out how to get to a place we've never been before, and we figure out that there's a point to getting there, we never stop going.
This has been a presentation by the Lizard Lounge Sound Studio. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment below, and stay tuned for more from the place where time, indeed, does not exist.
Yeah, I'd like to know whatever math I need to know to figure out why, at least in some capacity, time doesn't exist somehow, somewhere, somewhen.